this is where it gets a little bit more different, okay? So this is where a lot of rushd is going to come into play, okay? A lot of rationalization, and this is where you guys are going to have to really have some good foundations in the Quran, which is fine if you don't, but I'm going to just make sure it's very clear. But when you will get into this situation, because you will explain, why are we doing salah? Why should we dress and so on? This is gonna come out, even though someone might not bring it out. It's important to understand why, which we're gonna see, but to understand it and to be able to explain it, and always try to keep this information I'm telling you. Look at it in a way that you're always gonna explain it to someone. Don't just look at it as I'm memorizing this, Think about it like I'm gonna explain it to my brother, or I'm gonna explain it to 20 people in the future, or 1,000 people, who knows? But always think of explaining it more. If you think of explaining this, it's going to be even more deeper into your memory, because you're going to figure out tricks to say it. So the first thing is dress code. And the dress code is an interesting question, okay? And let's take this guy. Dress code for Salah, okay? So there's not a direct, like when you فَإِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى صَلَاةٍ, like Allah said, when you're standing for salah, do the wudu or do this. There's no verse like that in the Quran that it goes directly like this. However, there is another, I won't say indirect, but it's kind of in between indirect and direct way of saying that in the Quran. Okay, the verse is 31. Okay, so this is important. So this is a new little verse. You guys don't have to know it, but it's good to know it, okay? So 7:31. Now in here, we're gonna see the verse, by the way. But just before that, there's in here between like here to 34-ish, there's like a very important subjects of things that are haram and halal and all that you don't say things that are haram and so on. So let's go to the verse, okay? I have it open here. So it says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim." So it starts right away. Ya bani Adam, khudu zinatakum. So take khudu, right? Take zinatakum. So what could your zina be? Okay, so this can be interpreted in many ways, but this is the really good definitions here in English. Adornment. This is really the real good one. A beautiful apparel, really nice embellishments. There's many verses in the Quran which we're not gonna go through, but you should know in your minds that like with women, Allah calls their private parts zinas as well in Surah Nisa and Surah 24 as well. We're not gonna go through it, but zina can be jewelry, this, that. It can be looked at in so many ways. Okay, this word it's a very common word. The heavens and the earth, the stars and the planets are, Allah made it, beautified it. Shaitan does stuff with the beauties and so on, but Allah says bring this or take it. Okay, khudhu zinatakum inda kulli masjid. So at every masjid. Okay, wa kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu. And here, this is all we have, like major hint. One of the major hints that I'm going to bring out. So how does this relate to salah, right? So the first obvious thing is masjid, right? What do you do there? You can do tasbih there, right? You can do dhikrullah there, but you have also, of course, salah, right? This is undisputed. And it gets deeper in here because Allah calls the place where we're supposed to do the qibla. This is where you have to do a lot of rushd and understand this a little bit more. And so the first major masjid that we're aware is al-Masjidul Haram, right? So, and Allah also calls it, it's a Baytul Haram. It's a forbidden or sacred house, and it's Allah's house. And so the house has converted into a masjid. So you can look at a house and a masjid synonymous. We kind of skipped the qibla. Actually, we'll get to that. No, we're going to get to that at part level 4 and 5. But just to bring up a little bit of the qibla, right? So the direction we were aiming towards Masjid al-Haram, which is a house. Allah's house is there. The Maqam Ibrahim is there. So in a nutshell, if we have to bring it to every masjid, now obviously your own house is not officially a masjid, but you could consider it a masjid. But it's not, obviously. Maybe your room and so on. But it is If you're doing salah there or wherever you do salah in your house and or room or so on, that area is now starting to become special, right? You're praying there, you talk to Allah there, and so on. It's a very special area. Okay, so you should look at it that way. And the other thing is when Allah called Musa, right, the first time, brought him to Tur, that special mountain. He says, "Take off your sandals," right? You're in a special, you're in the holy valley of Tuwa. So he takes, so the idea of being clean, it needs to be there. So those are, this is the place where like, okay, if Allah says to go to every masjid super nice and dress nice, or bring your zinatakum, then logically, when you're gonna do salah, you should try to look as best as not, or yeah, I mean, if you want to look as best or come in a dressed nice way and so on. You should come nice in front of Allah is what this verse is showing. But just keeping the idea that you should look nice. Okay, that's really, it depends, because maybe in 5 years, whatever you were doing now, you will look at it differently, right? And then in another 5 years, you will be like, I want to be even more. We evolve with time in every 5 to 10 years differently. So maybe in the next 10 years, you're gonna feel like wearing a suit every single time. I don't know. Maybe not. Or you're gonna wear a specific thing that you like a lot, and boom, right? Now there are special types of clothings and stuff like that we can get into. There are hints of that in the Quran with Musa, with his putting his hand in his wing, his miracle, then his arm becomes white, or his hand becomes white. And that's it, guys. I'm gonna keep it simple and move on to the next. So that's really it. This is verse. That's all you need to know is take your adornment. It's a nice way, adornment. Let's go here. This is a great example. So you can see that the day that he came to show off basically, and he came with his full adornment. Again, he came super awesome, this and that. It was zinatihi, exactly. It's like super awesome. And for Salah, guys, Salah, okay, right? Salah we're talking about. But in the masjid, it's another one, so it depends what you're gonna do, but it's all in the end for, like you're saying, Allah, right? And that's it, guys. Any quick questions here before we get into the main one right now?